I guess the most important things for our soils, whatever we do, if it's not profitable, then it's not going to work. And that is going to be the main message, what I'm going to be talking about. And profitability is all related to how well your agronomy is working in relation to your costing structures. So we know that the more biomass we can grow, the more protection we have for our soils. And we've got the organic lobby on one side, and we've got profitable farming lobby on the other side. And there's a group of people out there that think we need to protect the soil by being very careful with what we do, using organic amendments and all those sort of things. But basically, if you've got a very high biomass production system with a high turnover of all your vegetative material, then you're going to have great benefits from all the increased microbial activity in the soil, and you will build your soil organic matter as well. Now, we know that if the more stubble you have, you're certainly protecting the soil from erosion. I mean, that's a given. It catches water as the rain comes across the paddock, and it improves the infiltration rate. It is a great benefit from when you're growing pulses, and it increases biological activity, as I said before, and of course it's a livestock food source. Our soils are most susceptible when they're very, very dry or very wet, and avoiding traffic when the soils are most vulnerable would avoid what you see. Now, the BCG, together with a Mallee CMA, we've done a lot of work on, and also Mallee Sustainable Farming, on how much stubble do you actually need to protect your soil. Okay, so 70% is the level, with all the erosion susceptibility work done by the different groups, that we're finding to protect the soil from wind erosion and all the other negative benefits. And if you're getting to that stage, then it's high time to put your sheep into a containment area. And that's where you can feed them, that's where you can increase the growth rates, and that's where you're going to get the most benefits. And basically, if you can see bare ground, a lot of bare ground at flowering, the sunlight is hitting the ground. And in my view, as an agronomist, I always thought that sunlight had to hit green leaf material, because that's where it's going to translate into yield. And if you go into wide rows, you're going to get a lot more weeds, and you're going to do some yield. Now, we know we can't always keep stubble, especially in some parts of the Wimmera we've got a lot of snails, and that's going to be a hassle. And if there's a lot of stubble, like for example after 2010, then you might have to get rid of some and burn some. The other thing I want to discuss with you a little bit is the use of nitrogen in crop to grow these high biomass producing crops that actually end up being a profitable crop. And we don't, in our Mallee environment, a bit different to the Wimmera, we don't have that many opportunities to apply late nitrogen. So you've got to be very on the ball in terms of how and when you should be applying more nitrogen on your crops in the Mallee. If you apply it too early, you get too much biomass production and the crop can't finish because it runs out of water. If you apply it too late, then, well, basically it's too late because the crop can't take it up, or if it is taken up, it might go into protein, but it won't go into yield. And maybe I'm a bit old school, but I still reckon that late tillering to the first node stage is about as late as you can go in the Mallee. In the Wimmera, you might get away with it a little bit later. I reckon from 6 leaf to growth stage 31, which is the first node, is about the right time in the Mallee. And if you go any later, you'll get a protein response, but not necessarily anything else. So, maybe this is a bit of a confusing message for protecting your soil, but I guess what I'm trying to say is try to grow the highest crops in the best pastures, and that is going to do the most for soil protection as we can hope for in our environment.